Welcome to I Said What I Said, a sports podcast giving you opinions not heard anywhere else. I'm your host, Brad Wakai, alongside my co-host, Tyson Gentry. Tyson, oh my goodness gracious, man. We got an awesome show today, first and foremost. That's for sure. We got things that we were recapping in week 7 of college football. We're previewing week 8, which is the biggest game of the weekend. My alma mater, Penn State. I got the visor on if you're watching on YouTube. I got the Fiesta Bowl jersey, Fiesta Bowl shirt on when we beat University of Washington. So I got the good vibes going right now, Tyson. But how you doing today, man?
I'm good. I'm ready to get to this. This is the most important show of your life. I was talking to you before we hit record. This is the most excited or true college football fandom I've seen out of you in a long time. This is going to be fun.
And obviously, we got money making time coming up at the end here as well. To give our picks. We'll get into how we did in week 7 as well. But before we get to the good stuff, let's jump into week 7. You know, kind of an interesting results here. You know, you got your dominant teams who are playing some cupcakes, your Penn States, your Michigans, your Georgias, who really skated by. Ohio State throw them in there as well. Florida State. And then we'll dive into Washington, Oregon, Notre Dame, USC, and North Carolina, who's making a charge. But Tyson, Louisville loses to Pittsburgh outright on the road. UCLA stumbles for the second loss in a row, losing to Oregon State. Utah, starts to look a little bit better there. They put a dominant performance in over Cal. Duke cruises by with their backup quarterback over a bad NC State team. Tennessee, that was way closer in comfort than they'd like against Texas A&M. And then how about this one? Your boys at Arizona, our boys on the show, Jed Fish pounds Washington State 44-6. So there were some interesting results here this weekend. Kansas goes down to Oklahoma State. Kentucky goes down to Missouri. So we got some shuffling here in the top 25.
A little bit. This was a fantastic weekend for the huge networks like Fox and ESPN and these guys that got to just air the one big game going on in that window. I don't think most people were paying attention. Like the score was scrolling across the bottom for 99% of people in America, and they were going, "Oh, Oregon State's handling business," or "I can't believe Washington State's getting blown out." I don't think many people were watching a lot of these, and I don't blame them at all. The big games were the big games for a reason.
You wanted to shout out your alma mater as well. I know the FCS level here. Why don't you get into that?
Oh, we got a little Montana Grizzlies victory. We got the little Brown Stein back in Missoula. They beat Idaho. Idaho was number 3 in the country in the FCS. The Grizz run over to the Kibbe Dome and take care of business. And Brad, the Big Sky Conference, again, another ESPN2 showcase for them. It's the Big Sky After Dark now, and they're pulling in more numbers than Conference USA, than the Sun Belt, which it's pretty cool. And if you like watching football, the FCS got something for you. There's a lot of interesting concepts that are going on in the FCS that you're going to see the big guys running here shortly.
Let's jump in. Big games that happened. Washington outlasts Oregon, and this was the best game of the weekend. It was incredible. So a lot of things that took place here. We had interesting decisions to go on 4th down. We got 2 Heisman favorites going at it in Bo Nix and Michael Penix. And then the home team wins by 3, right on the number on the point spread. And now you got a separation here because Michael Penix is the favorite to win the Heisman. Washington likely has the inside track to get into the college football playoff, even if they do lose eventually in the Pac-12 title. So, Tyson, I'm going to chuck it to you. What did you see out of this game?
This was the most college football game I've ever seen in my life. And what I mean is there was multiple times throughout the game, like if you're an Oregon fan, you thought you were dead. If you were a Washington fan, especially there at the end, you thought like, oh man, this thing is over. And then they just kept giving each other chances, and nobody really wanted to slam the door. Michael Penix Jr., did you ever hear about what the injury was? Or I didn't ever catch any follow-up. He was gripping at his midsection there in like the 4th quarter, and you were kind of wondering like, is this actually going to hinder him from making game-winning plays? But at the end of the day, man, sometimes if it's athlete on athlete, and we got Roma Dunze, and this is what you're going to give us. If it's one-on-one, like they're taking Washington and Kalen DeBoer taking that every single time. And thankfully they did, and our bets hit. And Washington is the most impressive resume right now in the country. And it feels weird, Brad, to say like Washington is back because we don't think about them as a premier program in the history of college football, but they're a top 25 program ever, like 27 years of winning football before 2003, 3 national championships, tons of Rose Bowl success. Like, this might be scary for the rest of college football if Washington keeps this thing rolling.
I love Kalen DeBoer. I think he's a fantastic coach. He was the offensive coordinator at Indiana when they were good and good enough during the COVID year. Then he went to Fresno State, was dominant there, and now at Washington he has this thing rolling. Just the offense that he runs and just the play designing, the play calling, just everything offensively that he designs is so impressive to watch. Like, that's a masterclass in how to get your open receivers and your best talent into space and have a quarterback. All he has to do is just play pitch and catch with them. Like, you had 2 guys who went 128, 118 on the day. 8 receptions from Rome Odunze for 128, 2 touchdowns. Jalen Polk, 6 grabs for 118 and a touchdown. Like, it's a masterclass performance for Kalen DeBoer in this offense.
I was just trying to pull up. I sent you a text the other day. I couldn't find it, of what his overall record was since he's taken over, and it's incredible. And this is not to disparage Oregon at all. They played a good game. Dan Lanning is getting flamed a little bit for some of those calls, and I understand both sides of it. But we talked yesterday, and I think we are in agreement that going forward the second time is 100% the right move. Like, he already kind of made his bed, and I think that there's a chance, like, if you were to run that simulation of that exact scenario 100 times, Oregon probably comes out on top 75 of those. But Washington found a way to win, and they're scary. Like, this is all we heard for all last week was, like, Washington's probably not physical enough to put up with Oregon, and they're just physical in a different way. They can't tackle. That is going to be a huge thing going forward for them, because if you're going to get tripped up in college football, it's going to be the defense letting you down if you're the Washington Huskies. And they struggled there, but they made enough plays to win the football game. And that place was freaking rocking, dude. That was pretty cool to watch.
So you texted me the number. I just pulled up here as a head coach here on Sports Reference. 29-8 as a head coach in college football. That is impressive. As a head coach, he told me 96-11 because he was doing something before this, right? Yeah. So I think it's the high school level. I mean, it's an impressive run that he's had so far. Yeah, I'm looking here. So Indiana OC. So he was only there for 1 year, 2019. That's right. And then he left during the COVID year. Sioux Falls, that's the other time he was the head coach. And I don't know what level that is, but it's been impressive. Is that FCS, Tyson? You're the FCS guy.
I think so. Yeah, but I don't know if it says like Sioux Falls High School. We should probably know this.
NAIA.
The point of the story is that he's a good head football coach, and it feels weird that this is what kind of is taking people to take notice. Because I mean, we got the Miami Dolphins in the NFL just ripping everybody up and running all over the place and throwing the ball wherever they want. We kind of got a little baby version of it going on here at Washington, because they're going to be able to score on your Michigans, on your Ohio States, on your Penn States going forward here for the rest of the year. And that bodes well. And Oregon's not dead in the college football playoff discussion either.
No, and I'll put a bow on this because I just pulled everything up here. So that was a little clunky, but I'm just going to set this straight. So Kalen DeBoer, at Sioux Falls, which is the NAIA, he had a 67-3 record, won 3 NAIA championships from 2005 to 2009, lost one in the championship as well. In his first year, lost in the semifinals. At Fresno State, he went 12-6 in 2 seasons. Now at Washington, he's 17-2. He's 96-11 as a head coach. So it's extremely impressive with what he's done. For the Dan Lanning thing, you can question, I think, going early in the game there. Late, that's 100% the right call. You have a short yardage situation. It looks clunky. It looks weird when you're going for it in your own territory. But why would you want to give Michael Penix another shot at it? Like, why would you punt? You have a chance to win the game with 1 yard, 2 yards. And it backfired, when they got scored on, or they didn't get the first down, they got scored on. But Tyson, they also had a chance to go down and score on their own.
Yep.
Couldn't necessarily get that done either. And so you're looking at things, just there's always things here and there. But I thought that was the complete right decision. I don't think Dan Lanning was the reason why they lost. The reason why they lost is Washington was extremely prepared. Like you said, like my game breakdown of this was, I think Oregon's going to be more physical than them. And that did not play out in this game. And it was impressive.
Go Dogs, baby.
So Notre Dame pounded USC. That was another big storyline of this because Notre Dame just coming off of an embarrassing loss against Louisville. They came into this game as favorites against the high-flying USC offense, but there were some question marks about what's been going on with that defense. They were getting all the attention. Oh, this defense stinks. Well, Caleb Williams went 199 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 3 picks. Notre Dame's offense steamrolled them per usual, like what always happens to USC's defense, or anytime that Lincoln Riley's a head coach and he has Alex Grinch underneath them. Like there was no mistaking what Notre Dame wanted to do. And this is in the rain, and it was like kind of ugly. Like you look at the box score, Sam Hartman 126, 2 touchdowns, like, all right. Rushing game for Notre Dame, 125, 2 touchdowns. Okay. But you add up all the turnovers. You add up, 3 interceptions, 2 fumbles, 3 fumbles, 2 that were lost. And you can see the short yardage situations. You can see how it spiraled out of control for USC. And that's just been the story for this team.
Yeah, and Sam Hartman shaved the beard, which I think is probably the biggest storyline coming out of this game. But it's the same concerns that you were always going to have about USC, and they just kind of reared their head. It's like if Caleb Williams doesn't put this team on his back, and was actually kind of an active part of the reason why they lost, they're not going to be able to overcome that against pretty much anybody in the country. And I'm like, Notre Dame played well. They did exactly what they wanted to do. They imposed their will, and they were, if this is how this was going to play out always. I think we were kind of talking ourselves into something else and being a little nervous. Maybe it's low scoring, but USC pulls it out in the end. They just got bullied because sometimes they just get bullied. And that's the way this thing is going to work as long as this is the coaching staff, this is the personnel. Lincoln Riley's never going to have an outstandingly physical football team. He's going to he wants to score 100 points. And that's what they do. And Notre Dame didn't let him score 100 points. But Brad, these are the real concerns with Caleb Williams. The attitude sucked again. And I know it sounds corny to sit here like a psychologist because we're just reading it. But that's 100% one of the biggest issues with Caleb Williams. Like his attitude stinks, at least body language stinks. And then some of these off-platform throws are fantastic when it works. He looks like Zach Wilson when it doesn't. And you can't hold the ball for 30 seconds in the NFL. It's either holding or you're going to get killed. And those are things that he can get away with at this level. And, he went from surefire can't miss to a lot of these people overnight. Now it's like, well, that's just what happens in college football. But he wasn't that guy because nobody was watching him before when he played Utah or some of these other schools. And now, the whole country is paying attention to him for the first time for real, I think. And it wasn't a great showing.
Yeah, I mean, in the rain, you're going to have question marks about that and that performance. Like if we're talking NFL, I think it's ridiculous. Like there's going to be people who always don't believe in Caleb Williams or don't like him. So then they just waited around to be like, oh, see, I told you he's not very good. Or he's not as good. And that's the reality of the draft stock situation. That's the reality of analyzing a quarterback.
These were always the things he was bad at. These the things he's been doing for 3 years now.
And we got to admit, too, when Mahomes does these plays, too, I mean, he also looks like Zach Wilson. Some of those throws that he's had this season that have turned into interceptions are really bad. And that's the comp that he's getting is what Mahomes has done, the off-platform stuff, the running around, things like that. And so you're going to have to take some good with the bad. And in this one, it was bad. Other times, it's been extremely impressive.
It's been awesome. It's been amazing. Yeah.
And so I'm willing to give him – in a frustrating situation, I think it's been for this offense because, yes, it's fun when you're scoring 70 points and it looks great, but when you have to go out and do it because your defense is giving up 70 as well, then it's become okay, guys, what's going on here? And I think there's a lot of stress back there. And again, now I'm playing psychologist, but, this was a game that I think a lot of people on paper when it came into the season were like, yeah, USC is going to struggle with Notre Dame. And that was clear in this one.
This was so typical, I think, of what the USC program has kind of turned into and what the Notre Dame program is. And I do want to clarify, I wasn't trying to hate on Caleb Williams. I was just saying that it's outlandish that these people were like, this is why he's can't miss, or this is why he's not can't miss, or blah, 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 when nobody's ever been can't miss. And this is the same things he's been doing since he played Baylor as a true freshman. He's going to have issues. It's hard. But hats off to Notre Dame. I thought for sure that there was going to be a point in that game where they're going to try to take their foot off the gas or something and let Notre Dame or let USC back into it because that's been Notre Dame football. And they just pedal to the metal, baby. Let's get these guys off the field, and I'm done talking about them.
Yeah, good bounce back for Notre Dame. Ugly loss for USC. We got to see how they go because they got a tough stretch of games here coming up for themselves. Let's close with this. The other one that happened, North Carolina. Now they're starting to separate themselves as legitimate threats in the ACC. They take care of business at home against Miami. Kind of a scare. They're up 7-0 in the first quarter. 17 points scored by Miami in the second. UNC scored a touchdown themselves, but they're trailing by 3 at half. They get out of the locker room, score 21. And then Miami makes a little comeback at the end, scoring 2 touchdowns of their own. UNC only scores 6. They win by 10, but there's some people saying, man, North Carolina probably should have lost this game. Now, coulda, shoulda, woulda, right? Like, it's Miami. Like, are we really going to give them the benefit of the doubt in the close game situation? But North Carolina, they got an impressive resume. You think Washington may have the best? North Carolina is up there as well.
They have a good resume. It's funny because, like, it's funny to even have to say they're well coached, but they are. Drake May is awesome. They're, again, just this is like, if you weren't paying attention to North Carolina football for the last couple of years, you might have thought like Sam Howell just slings the ball all over the field, and they're going to let Drake May sling the ball all over the field. This is a university that's been putting out running backs in the NFL left and right because they want to run down your throat, and that's kind of how they're built, and they're going to build off of that. And I think that bodes pretty well for them in the ACC. I don't know, if that run game is good enough to completely control Florida State defensive line, because that's going to be the real test. Florida State we don't know yet, but it feels like they might be getting off a little easy this week if Riley Leonard can't play for Duke, because that's really the third team that is still fighting for an ACC championship at the moment. But North Carolina has been impressive, and I think, I thought that the other shoe was going to drop by this point in the season. I'll say that, and it hasn't.
You mentioned the running game. O'Marion Hampton, 24 carries, 197 yards and a touchdown, and 8.2 average per touch. North Carolina ran the ball 43 times, put up 235 yards on the ground. Extremely impressive. Then Drake May, missed some throws, 17 of 33, not ideal, but 273, 4 touchdowns, 8.3 yards per completion. Explosive passing game there. And like you said, they did enough. Tez Walker, he's back. I mean, I think he's a game changer. Absolute game changer for what this offense can be. And that's why I view them as a legit shot to make the college football playoff. Like, if they went out, if they beat Florida State, if they beat Clemson, they're going to have a good resume. A really good
they'll
resume.
be in for sure. If they might be able to beat, if Florida State beats Duke this week, and then North Carolina takes down Florida State or loses to Florida State and beats Clemson, they're still probably going to have a little bit of an argument that they deserve a seat at the table. Because at this point in the year, you can't go resume for resume with very many of these top teams before North Carolina, like, it becomes clear they've had a harder road. Shout out Kevin Durant.
All right, that's going to do it for our Week 7 recap. Let's get into the Week 8 preview, Tyson. We got 3 big games that we're jumping into. The first one, you mentioned it off the top. We got some question marks regarding health, but other than that, I mean, there's really nothing huge besides these 3 games. I mean, Washington State goes to Oregon. That's not a marquee matchup anymore. South Carolina, they're 2-4. Missouri back in the top 25. Texas is back in action. Aforementioned North Carolina plays, but Michigan's playing Michigan State, who's a dumpster fire, and Utah USC. All right, whatever, 14 versus 18 on paper, but is anybody really tuning in for what's his name for Utah, the quarterback, Cam Rising-less Utah?
Yeah,
I don't think so. So that's the thing here. So let's jump into it now. Number 16, Duke's traveling to Tallahassee to take on number 4, Florida State. You mentioned Riley Leonard. We're not quite sure if he's going to play. There's some rumors he might, yada, yada. But what do you see here? Because Duke's defense is legit.
I would like very much so to be able to talk more about this game in depth, but without Riley Leonard playing, it's like 2 completely different conversations, it feels like, to have around this game. Because if he plays, this Duke team is really good, and it just adds another layer of what they're able to do on offense. Without him, they've been good still, but it's just like It's tough, man, because Florida State's way faster. They're just going to be way faster, and without a future NFL quarterback behind center, at least one that we can easily project to be there one day, makes it really hard to think Duke's going to be able to keep up. I think physicality wise, they're going to be okay, which is a weird feeling to have. But Elko's got how he is. Like they're going to be fired up. They're going to be ripping people's faces off to start. But you better double, you better chip because Jared Verse is going to be better than anybody you faced this season. It's not really close.
That's my concern too. It's like the backups done well, but now you're facing a legit team here. Like you're facing a Florida State team who knocked off the LSU to start, which doesn't look as good of a win now, but have maintained that top 5 position, right? Like they're like, okay, we're just not going to drop a game. We're going to look dominant. Escape Clemson, I will say, but that's college football, right? You got to win those close games if you want to win a national championship, if you want to propel yourself into a conference championship, things like that. So, yeah, it's hard to handicap. It's hard to break down not knowing the Riley Leonard situation. The one thing we do know is Duke's defense is going to make things difficult on Jordan Travis. That's the one thing we do know because of the athletes that they've gotten in the transfer portal, some from the SEC. The creativity of Mike Elko, who's going to be able to design something that's going to what do you call it?
Frustrate?
Frustrate or flummox.
Fluster?
Jeez. Fluster, flummox. Yeah, one of those F words that's not the one we like to say. Jordan Travis, who, Tyson, he can get baited into things, right? Like he can get baited into throws. He can get baited into making mistakes. And that could be a game changer here for Duke.
And the last part on this game is if Florida State wins by 50, they'll still be 4 in the rankings on Monday morning. If Duke wins this football game, they're going to shoot up, and Florida State's going to drop a ton.
Tennessee versus Alabama. This is a rematch of last year, an insane game that Tennessee won in their magical year before Hendon Hooker got hurt. Game-winning field goal at home over Alabama. And now it's a rematch in Tuscaloosa. We know how this kind of goes a little bit, right? Under Nick Saban, you come in all hot. Oh, baby, Alabama makes a statement. But, Tyson, this isn't the same Alabama team of years past. We have a quarterback who it's boom or bust with Jalen Milroe. On the other side, it's the same thing for Tennessee. I mean, last week after Texas A&M got shredded up by Jalen Milroe, Joe Milton, who everybody fell in love with in the preseason, was 11 of 22 for 100 yards. 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Just not good enough there. So I really have no clue what to expect because this is not the version of Alabama that I've become accustomed to. In this Tennessee team, I really can't predict what the offense is going to do with someone as erratic as Joe Milton.
I think that this Alabama team looks a little closer to what I expected or, what we've seen the last couple of weeks. They're still not like national championship favorites. I think it'd be a shock to people if they even won the SEC at this point. This team has looked a lot better, and they just look like they found some consistency. And not just on offense, on defense too, because it's not the Alabama defense of the past either. You mentioned it, Milroe's boomer bust and Milton's boomer bust. I think this is a good spot for Joe Notre to be here, and I think that Alabama defense is going to do unspeakable things to this Tennessee offense because I don't think that Saban and the boys are very pumped up about the way that last year's game ended. And this is you said it, dude. This is a movie we've seen a lot of times, and it almost ends the same every time.
Well, Tyson, a movie that Penn State fans have sadly seen a few too many times is losing to Ohio State. Everybody knows the thing: the James Franklin versus the top 25.
What's
his
the thing?
record versus what is he? 0-25 or something like that. I don't know.
I was just seeing if you'd say it.
I don't know.
You got all the swag on today.
Off the top of my head, but listen, 1-8 against Ohio State in this tenure. The one that happened was the insane block kick. I was at that game. Fun fact, that was insane. It's been tough, like Penn State's been in games against Ohio State. Hasn't closed the deal. It's always been a heartbreaker unless we get blown out, and which has happened before. We were saying off air that it's been a mismatch in the past in terms of talent, right? Like Ohio State's been clearly head and shoulders above in terms of the NFL guys. Penn State's been slowly catching up. Now it feels like it's an even playing field in some positions, which hasn't been the case in a while.
It might be, advantage Penn State at some of these positions, which is a weird thing to say. And I understand the spread right now is 4.5, which means Ohio State, you'd figure they're 1.5 on a neutral. I think the only real advantage of this thing being in the shoe is that it's not at Happy Valley. Like, I don't know really what the Ohio State home field advantage is going to look like in this game, but I don't think it's as hard of a place to play as everyone makes it seem. I think part of the reason the record is so crazy is because Ohio State's just better than pretty much everybody that comes to visit. This is going to be a physical football game, Brad. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. If you're finding yourself watching 2009 Alabama highlights, I think this game's for you because these guys are going to want to hit each other. Because the flip side is like what the offenses show up for the first time, really, like always, like that one offense does something they haven't shown in the last couple weeks. I find that hard to imagine against these two defenses. This is the most even this game has been in a long time, and I'm just going to get out of the way and let you go.
So, the last time Penn State won in Columbus, 2011, they won 20-14. Ranked Penn State team, unranked Ohio State team, based on Wikipedia. That's what I'm reading here. I do think it's a tough place to play. The shoe. It's a noon game, which changes things. Normally, if it was late at night, I think it's tough to play. They got a ton of people there. There's nothing like a Penn State whiteout. Like, that's the best atmosphere in college football. But I mean, the Horseshoe's a tough place to play, and it's been a house of horrors for Penn State. This is what needs to happen. This is the first time our quarterbacks have been on the same level. Ohio State's Kyle McCord, this is his first year starting. Drew Aller, Penn State, first year starting. Finally, it's on the same level playing field with equal talent, both five-star guys coming into this thing. Where it separates on the offense, Ohio State has better wide receivers. We know that. Marvin Harrison Jr. probably going to be a top 5 pick. Uboka, he's banged up, but if he's back, he's better than anybody Penn State has. Penn State's getting a little healthy. They got Harrison Wallace or Trey Wallace back. That opens things up a little bit, ideally. The advantage for Penn State this year, which is insane to say, is on the offensive line. Both defenses can get after the passer. Both defenses can disrupt the running game. Ohio State's had to replace NFL guys. Penn State has these NFL guys here. It's like the first time I can remember in a long time that Penn State has the offensive line advantage. Now, Tyson, is that going to play out on Saturday? Because for some reason, the voodoo always seems to happen whenever Ohio State plays Penn State, and the offensive line crumbles like a cheap tent. So that's one of the main things here. The other thing, Ohio State's running backs who have killed Penn State in the past, they are banged up. Like, they are in infirmary. And Penn State, while they haven't been great running, like last year, Nick Singleton and Katron Allen were running crazy and running wild. This year, it's been more methodical. They still lead the Big Ten in rushing, but it hasn't been these explosive plays we've become accustomed to. So that's where I'm looking at here. Aller's been very, very protective of the football, hasn't been stretching the ball down the field as much as people like. But when you're protecting it with that defense, Tyson, it makes it a hell of a lot easier to win football games. And that's what's happening. McCord's kind of similar, right? He only has one interception. It hasn't really stretched it out like people would have liked. So honestly, on paper, they kind of remind me of the same exact team coming into this one. It's just in different areas. Penn State has the advantage here, and the Ohio State has the advantage elsewhere.
So what I heard you say is these two teams are even. So if Ohio State wins, it means Ryan Day is a better quarterback than better coach than James Franklin, and vice versa. Because those are, I'm looking forward to this game so much. I want a victory pod next Wednesday because there's going to be some insane victory laps taking place in Brooklyn. I know that.
Yeah, this one would feel good.
We'll have to postpone it if they lose. Like, we won't do a college show for 2 weeks.
Oh God, I'll be hurting. I will be hurting. This one feels like the one, and we'll get into money making time here soon. And it's not a Penn State podcast. If you're listening, you're like, all right, whatever. I mean, it's the biggest game of the weekend, but just sharing my perspective here. This is the one. It feels like if Penn State doesn't win this one, it's like, when the hell are we going to win again? When are we going to beat these guys? Because we got NFL talent. We've been waiting for that. It's here. We've got the quarterback. We've been waiting for that. He's here. We've been waiting for a down Ohio State team. It feels like this is the one. They're coming in banged up. We're coming in healthy. It's been the opposite now. And if we can't pull this one off, it's just like, boys, what are we doing here? And like you said, I don't think you can say James Frank would be a better head coach than Ryan Day after one victory, but it certainly would
Dude,
feel
that's a take
very
you're gonna
good.
get off. You're firing that thing off on Twitter or X, excuse me, as like a halftime of the game. You're not even gonna wait.
Oh my gosh. All right. So Penn State, Ohio State, believe it or not, and I'm pretty sure you can believe it. I got a play in this game
I
coming
thought
up.
so.
Tyson, let's get in the money making time here. The screen is not being shared. Let me add that. But it was a good week for the kids. I will say we were waiting for one. We were waiting for it to happen. Begging the gambling gods, please, please help us out. Just give us something here. And it happened. So pulling up the odds screen or the recap screen here, if you're watching on YouTube, what a big bounce back week for the boys. I went 8-2. SMU team total needed that one. And once that hit, I text you, eye emoji. It couldn't have gotten any worse if I jinxed it or not. So we got that home. Michigan State, insane. Florida State, what a sweat with the backup QB. James Madison, absolutely no sweat there as they crushed as 5.5-point favorites. Pittsburgh, plus 7.5. We said we had to get gross. They went outright. USC, Notre Dame, over 60.5. Looked like we were dead. Nope. We were right where we needed to be. North Carolina holds on for dear life. Then how about Colorado State? They didn't just win the plus 7.5. They won on a Hail Mary. Unbelievable. And then, listen, beggars can't be choosers, so I don't want to criticize this too much. But really, Temple, North Texas scores 45 on that defense. Temple can't get anything down. Unbelievable. And then UAB, Trent Dilfer, after I talked you up, my play of the week, dropping that. The offense goes cold. Come on, man. Unbelievable. Tyson goes 3-2 as well.
Yeah, the Colorado team total over 36.5 was looking like it was going to be the easiest play of the year, and then wildly turned like I didn't think it was going to hit for a minute. Thankfully, we didn't have the money line. USC Notre Dame first quarter under 13.5. We talked about it. We were both able to get out with winners on this game. Washington money line, that was the most fun I've had on a play so far this year. I'm an idiot for the UCLA Oregon State one because I talked myself out of Oregon State to win the game, just money line, and talked myself into the under. Dumb on two accounts there. And then I tried to summon the Halloween gods here for the play of the week with Purdue plus 19.5. It didn't work, but we were in a hole and we needed to get out. I thought, maybe somebody, if the gambling gods aren't listening, somebody's got to be.
All right. So I was up 5.05 units. Tyson was up 0.39 units. We profited this week. This is the second time. No, I'm sorry. I'm selling it short. This is the third time this season that we have profited. So we're up 5.44 units on week 7. Now, thankfully for me, I'm cutting the deficit, baby. I'm cutting into it, Tyson. I'm only down 12.77 units after it looked like I'd be down 1 million. You're down 1.72 units. You're still holding us strong here. So the podcast still down 14.5 units. We got some work to do. Don't worry, folks. We know we got a hole to climb out of, but it's fine. We still got plenty of time here on the podcast. Tyson, we both did not like this slate very much as we came into this. I don't have 10 plays. I have 8. I mustered up 8 for the people here. How many do you have?
I have 4.
Okay. So we'll stick to
keeping
the same
it,
thing.
yeah.
Beautiful.
Keeping it the same.
All right. Well, you know what? Let me get into it. We just got done talking about it. What type of Penn State fan would I be if I didn't take Penn State plus 4.5 here? Fully expecting that my heart to be ripped out.
Oh, no. You're not even going money line, dude?
Well, hold on. You got to take the points here. We got to be smart. Tyson, we got to get back up in the green here.
Fuck you.
So Penn State plus 4.5, minus 110. Minus 110. So we're going to be smart here. I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair, defensive thing. And if we lose by a field goal, it's a heartbreaker at the end. At least we're going to be walking away with some money. So I'm just telling the other guys out here, let's take points with
Dude,
Penn
I'm
State.
so mad at you right now. That's such a ridiculous. Come on, dude. The entire week I've just been like waiting for this show because I knew you were going to come on here with some venom. Pre-show, you're pulling up these websites. And you're like, these guys are idiots, dude. They think Ohio State's going to win this football game, and then you get to the end of the show here and you take the points.
Well,
Come on.
it's not the end of the show yet. Don't worry.
Okay,
We still got some time. We still got some time. We can get things fired up. My second one here, Memphis UAB over 60.5. I'm going back to the well on the UAB. So UAB's at home. I think they'll perform better at home coming back. More familiarity. Memphis, the offense, it hasn't looked as good as in years past. I think this is a good get right spot for them. And I think they're going to put up points on both of each other's defense here.
Yeah. You and just going back to the well on some of these it's pretty awesome because like we just went 11 and 5 and we're still down 14 units as a duo. Just hilarious. My first play here, you want to talk about going back to the well. Washington minus 27.5 at home against Arizona State. I know Arizona State's looked spooky if you've been watching Pac-12 After Dark or some of these other spots. Washington is going to shred this defense, and that place is going to be jumping. And I don't think Washington's season was built around beating Oregon. I don't expect any sort of letdown from this group. This is another 5-touchdown Michael Penix hammer spot where he just, further kind of runs away with the Heisman Trophy at this point.
Oh, yeah. The offense there, it's always like I got a question about like what's going on for Arizona State, right? Like at times it looks good.
Sometimes they're running Wildcat, and you're not really sure like where that came from.
Yeah, I don't know. So I think that's a good play here. And it's nice you don't have to go on the road, right? That's what it is too. They're at home.
Mm-hmm.
Second or third one for me here. I'm going Tulane minus 20.5 at home against North Texas. This Tulane offense can put up points in a hurry, and they're playing a paper mache defense in North Texas. It got a little scary for Tulane's defense last week. They were able to overcome that. North Texas can put up points, so that does give me some pause, up 20.5 here, laying 3 touchdowns. But I just think they're going to be able to score at will on this defense. So give me Tulane minus 20.5. And I'm kind of regretting this one, Tyson. This is more of a feel play, to be completely honest with you. I'm going to take Washington State and Oregon over 62.5. Not my favorite play here. Now, here's my angle. Washington State, we know, can put up points. Now, it hasn't happened in recent weeks. I don't know what's going on there, but like they've shown the ability to put up points. And Oregon's shown the ability to put up points as well on a soft defense. Like their offense is better than what Arizona's doing. So like they could put up a ton on their own. They're going to be angry. They're heading back home. They're going to want to have to make a statement. And Washington State, if right, they run something similar to what Washington did last week. So I think it could pose some of the same issues for that defense that Washington was able to exploit. So I'm going to take a shot here over 62.5.
I debated that one for a while, but my next play is actually, I'll just throw it out here. It's the same one you had first there, Tulane minus 20.5 at home against North Texas for essentially the same reasons you just laid out. Tulane was probably my most bet on team last season, and this year I haven't played them yet. And I think this is a really good spot for Tulane.
Yeah, man. I'm liking that we're Sympatica. We haven't been in a while. So
that's what I was thinking about that while you were talking. I'm trying to run through. We've been mono a bunch, which hasn't really worked out because like we're both losing.
I lose every time. Texas minus 22.5. Did anybody see how that game against Houston at home against West Virginia ended? Like Dana Holgerson thought he was getting fired. Like he was looking up. He took off his headset. He thought for the last time, and they won on a Hail Mary. Now, this can go one of two ways. They're fired up. They're like, woo, second life. Or Texas comes in and crushes you because Texas is way better than West Virginia. And they're going to be able to put up a lot of points, and they're going to be able to shut out Houston. This is an in-state rivalry and an important one. Give me Texas minus 22.5 to make a statement. Hey, remember us? We're back in the mix here. And then, Tyson, my other one here is Kansas State minus 6.5. I'm a little nervous. I'm not going to lie to you because last time I bet on Kansas State, they lost outright and looked absolutely dreadful against Oklahoma State. Like Will Howard forgot what he was doing. I thought the Monstars took his talent, but they're at home and they're playing a TCU team that's gotten lit up. It's not a good TCU team. and I'm only laying 7 at home. I think they're a much better football team than what they have going on at TCU. So I'm going to lay 6.5 with Kansas State.
And just a point, Texas hasn't covered 20 points this year as the favorite. So this is you going against some history here, trying to get our money back, and I like that. My next one here, and this is just mostly to protect you, Brad, because there's a world. It's a small one, but let's say Penn State loses to Ohio State, beats Michigan. Michigan beats Ohio State, then Iowa all of a sudden like it starts to get a little freaky
Oh, God.
with like if they're gonna make it. So I got Minnesota plus 3.5. I'm not gonna pick them to win outright. I hate Minnesota this season. I hate watching Iowa, but this is a game that I want to pay attention to. This is almost like I'm gonna put my money on it, so I have to watch this football game. The over-under number is like 31.5 in this. It's not going to be a great football game. Iowa has more 3-and-outs this year than they do like yards in the first half. Like it's ridiculous what this offense is, and they just keep winning football games. And eventually, I don't think Minnesota's the offense to do it, but they're going to be able to keep it close. Like this is, I mean, dude, Big Ten football is so weird. At the top, you just got these guys putting up 70 points a game, and then in the middle, you can't score.
No, it's gross. Welcome, by the way, welcome to our conference, Oregon and Washington. I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun. USC, UCLA. I'm sure you guys will love it. Okay, here we go. USC -7 on a bounce back here against Utah. Yes, Utah's more physical. Yes, Utah's shown the ability to beat USC really in the past multiple times and in multiple ways. I just think the quarterback advantage in this one is way too great. I think this is a good spot for USC to really galvanize, come together, and refocus on their journey and on their mission, which is to try to make the college football playoff. Like they're going to need some help. They're going to have to make a statement. And here at home, Caleb Williams hearing all these, chirps, this and that, he's going to be motivated. This is a team that embarrassed them last year. I think we get the best performance we've seen from Utah in weeks. So give me USC. I'm sorry, from USC in weeks. So give me the Trojans -7 here at home.
Plus, you can still land on that. You get your money back.
Tyson, it's time for my play of the week. It's been a cold stretch. It's been a bad college football season. You know where we turn things around? When Penn State beats Ohio State for the first time in a long time, for the first time since 2016, for the first time in Columbus since 2011. Penn State's going to roll in there. I'm sick and tired of hearing about the Buckeyes. Tired of hearing about Ryan Day. Tired of hearing about how good these players are over there. The Nittany Lions. It's our time now. We got the white hat. We got the sick jerseys. We're not about names. We don't care that you're going number 3 overall. We're about the program. We're about doing something greater than yourself for this community. And that's what Penn State's going to prove on Saturday. We roll in and shut up all the haters, all the doubters. Penn State money line +162. Let's go.
I love it. I love it. I had a feeling when you weren't pushing back so hard when I was going at you. I lied, Brad. I actually have 5 plays this week. I can't count. I'll just go through one real quick here. Air Force team total over 22.5. This offense is really good. This team is really good. They're playing Navy. They're on the road. I don't care. Air Force scores the ball, and I had to rush through that, dude, because I got the same play of the week. I've been cold on the play of the weeks here too, and look, I think that Penn State's just better. I just think they're a better football team. I'm a little nervous. I'm way more nervous than you are that James Franklin is going to puke down his the front of his shirt here in the fourth quarter, and things are going to get tight, because that's kind of been Ohio State's game here. Is they're going to want to, like, this game is going to be close in the third quarter, and Ohio State's going to win by 30 points, or this game's going to be close in the third quarter, and Penn State's going to take this thing because they're more physical. Because dude, God damn it, they're better. Like right now, I think if you were to ask me my top 4 teams, I don't think Ohio State's in it. I think Penn State is.
Oof, man, I love it. I love it. We're simpatico on 2 plays this week. What could go wrong in our great college football year so far? Woof. All right. Well, you know what? It's good. Whenever we've been on play of the weeks before, I'm scrolling through here. Notre Dame -20.5 to start. Check. Penn State -20.5 in week 1. Check. We were different in week 2. Nothing different in week 3. Different no, we were same in week 4. Penn State minus 14.5. So we got a Penn State thing going here. We got a simpatico play of the week going here. Ooh.
We're just telling you
I'm
we're trying to go
pumped up.
4-0. When we're on it together, go bet your money. Actually, don't. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on YouTube, but yeah, if you're so inclined, we haven't lost yet.
But can we got to play the game now, man. It's starting, I'm pumped up for Saturday. I got the stuff on. I got the Fiesta Bowl stuff on, the lucky hat that's hit about 80%.
The crappy thing for you is, like, if they win, it's going to be a fantastic rest of the day and rest of the weekend for you. And if they lose, like, your Saturday's ruined. You're going to be watching the football games on Sunday in the NFL and just kind of not being able to forget about the untimely fumble or whatever it was. So for that reason, like, for my own well-being, and so my phone doesn't die from the unlimited amount of text messages I'm going to get, I'm going Penn State money line, man.
All right. Well, if we add anything else, Tyson, where can they see those plays?
It'll be in the Chalkboard app. It's in the App Store, Google Play, wherever you download your apps. The group name is ISWIS, presents the Roundtable Bets. Just type in pretty much any of those words, and we'll let you right in. We'll be one of the first ones that pop up there for you. And it's from the MLB. Brad's Phillies are rolling right now. We got the NHL is back. The NBA is around the corner. We have tons of, like, fun parlays and stuff in there for the NFL season. Obviously the football stuff here, and then we got a pretty big UFC card here on Saturday as well. So it's free, man, and come in there and to show us your plus 50,000 parlay. Show us your minus 300 play. It doesn't matter to us.
Yeah, get us a one that's going to hit too, plus 50,000, please. Let's all ride it together. That would be insane. That would be insane. In the meantime, like, subscribe, and share. You know the drill. If you're watching on YouTube, smash that like button. It really helps us out. We do appreciate any help that you guys give us. Then if you're listening in podcast form, if you haven't already, go ahead and rate, review, subscribe, everything and all that front. 5-star review, 4-star review, whatever the case may be. And if you have a comment, let us know as well. Stay connected with us on social media, X, Instagram, TikTok. It's all the same at ISWIS_pod. We'll be back tomorrow getting ready for another week in the NFL. Crazy weekend last weekend in the NFL. Is it going to be the same this weekend? We'll tell you as we go through all those games. We'll talk to you then. Peace.